guys, I'm going to be scrapbooking. I wasn't sure which of those two pictures I'd be using, but I knew I was going to use the Serendipity collection by Basic Gray. This layout is for scrapbooksuppliesonline.com.au, and I really wanted to use this piece of paper, which is I always find it challenging to use those papers with the little vignettes on them. And so I've done this before where I've covered the vignette. In the past, I have covered the vignette using it as almost an inspiration, and so I covered it in exactly the same way that the vignette was set up. But in this layout, I'm just randomly covering the printed elements on the background paper. And so now I'm just, taking a look at some of these papers, and I cut out that flower because I thought I might fussy cut around it. I ended up not using it though. I'm just looking for some paper that's going to match the overall feel that I want for the layout, I guess. So there I'm taking my punch and my circle punch, and I just cut out a couple of elements from that pattern paper, and now I'm just going to layer together a bunch of those papers. So I'm going to have those two strips span the entire vertical, I guess, quarter of the layout, and I was just checking to make sure that I had all the letters that I needed to spell out sisterly. And so those are the Basic Gray Serendipity and Shine On stickers. They came in the sticker pack. I love that it had shapes and letters, and I love those letters. They're a great size. And so then I'm spelling out encouragement in those tiny little letterbox alphas, and those are from the Serendipity and Shine On alphabet stickers package. And I'm just having a look at what other elements I might want to add to the layout at this point. Back to the paper, and I'm just, picking out some more scraps. I need to cover that top corner thing, and this is a piece of paper that I got from just my layering paper. It's like a texture. I don't even know the brand. It's just a random textured green piece of paper, and it's really the only thing from my stash that I used on this layout. Everything else is from the Serendipity collection. And I'm using my ruler to tear the paper, and that's way easier than cutting it because you can really make it whatever size you want just by sticking your ruler right on the layout. I cut a couple of strips into flags, into banners with the fishtails, and just kind of experimenting with layering a bunch of different elements together there. I'm going to be putting the title up in the top left-hand corner. So what I find about this collection is that some of the pieces, some of the papers are so similar to one another that adding a layer in that dark gray color, or sorry, that dark brown color can really help set the paper apart from one another so they don't all blend in. And so now I'm taking a piece of that dark brown color and just used my Notebook EK Success border punch, and just using that as a way to just put some definition between the layers that are going to be running the length of the layout. So I just made that a little bit distressed there by running my fingers down it, and that strip is too thin to put to use my ATG on, so I just used some liquid glue along it, and there we go. Now I decided after mounting all of that onto the layout that I would do some outlining, so that's what I'm doing now. Yeah, and I keep going off the page, so I just put my piece of paper, my piece of background scrap paper down there. So I'm outlining all of the pieces that are going to go onto this layout. And I just crumpled up that strip just to give it a little bit more interest and to set it apart from the other ones. When you're working with papers all from one collection, it's helpful to vary your treatments so that they don't all blend in together. So adding a contrasting piece of paper like that dark brown piece can really help with that. That happens to be from this collection, so that's nice. And also just like crinkling some papers and leaving some papers flat, distressing some pages and not, just kind of helps to separate them a little bit. So now it's all coming together. I've got all of my layers together, and then before I sewed those on, before I glued those down, I just wanted to make sure that I had a chance to sew down the vertical strips here. And because it's white thread, it really doesn't make a huge difference, but it's just one tiny element of texture that's added to an interest that's added to the background. So because it only takes a second, I don't mind adding you know, stitching. I think it adds, sometimes it adds a lot, but in this kind of a case, it only adds a little, but I think it's still worth it. So then I put that green piece on there whose job is really just to cover that bird, and then I'm going to lay out the banners. Once I get them all outlined, I'm just going to layer them all up. And I went from a longer wide one to a medium-sized one to a shorter, thinner one. So I kind of stacked them so that they go successively bigger. Now I'm feeling like that title just doesn't have enough emphasis. It's too blending in. So I took this turquoise damask, I think it's called. It's a Prima fluid chalk ink, and I just dabbed it in a way that wasn't to leave it kind of splotchy or mottled looking. And now this is a background stamp that I have from Studio Calico, I think. Yeah, I think it's from Studio Calico. And I just inked that up and stamped over the letters too, just to give the letters a little bit more interest. When you're using the same collection in your scrapbook, it's nice to, you know, a lot of these layouts are going to be close to each other. So I added the stamp just as a way to vary the look, so you don't see the same font over and over and over again with the same papers over and over again in my scrapbook. And so that just gives it some variety. So it's not so obvious that all of this stuff came from the same, you know, set. So now I'm outlining around the edges, and the reason I'm using two pens is some of the letters were placed too closely together to get the .08 pen in between them, and so I just go back with the .01 pen and just stick it into the little spaces. And what that does is it just fills in the little white gaps in between the letters where they're too close together for the .01 pen, for the .08 pen to go in. So then I just put the encouragement word down there with the red. Sorry guys, my narration is not working properly, so this is very chopped up, so my apologies. So now I'm putting that phrase sticker, which came from the sticker pack. I'm going to outline it, and then I'm going to stick it over there in kind of that big blank space that was created from that pattern paper. So once it's in there, and I used some pop dots on the ends just to make it layer properly with the other, there were more layers in the middle than there were on the ends, and I just used some flat back pearls in brown because I didn't want to bother with brads there. So those are the embellishments from the pins and tags. Sorry, from the pins and tags embellishment set. And so I'm just kind of experimenting with different places to put a few little things, and I end up deciding to string a couple of tags onto one of those pins, and I'm just going to fiddle a little bit with placement, and then I'm going to outline them. So there's that yellow sticker. The other half of it is on another layout, and I'm going to layer one of those that's a punched circle from a piece of the patterned paper, and I'm just outlining it, and that's a flag from the pins and tags package, and then I'm going to outline all of these little tags just to give them a little bit of it helps to differentiate them from one another and set them apart a little bit. I used my ATG to just stick them down in a way that they overlap nicely, and then I just kind of layered them all together. So that's where one cluster is going to end up being. And I got to use that red butterfly finally. I tried to use it on one of my other layouts and couldn't find a good spot for it. So I'm happy to use that he finally found a home because I like him. I added that little circle to write some journaling on. So it says, Liv helps Sophie enter her first ballet class. And then I just outlined around the edges of it. And at this point, I decide to go with a circle kind of theme, I guess, for the clusters. So those nested circles come on the sticker pack. And so what I do is I've been putting them kind of so that they layer under the other layers, and then I'm cutting them off and then finding another spot for the other half of it, if that makes sense. And I'm putting them in 3 different places, so the 3 main clusters around my picture, and then I also put an extra one up there on the top by the title and journaling, just so that that theme of circles kind of carries up to the top. And the journaling is already on a circle, so that works well. So you'll see the 3 clusters where there are things, so either a phrase sticker or a butterfly or that little cluster of tags. Each also has a cluster of, I guess, rings, we could call them. So I'm going to outline them just to give them a little bit more definition, and I'm using my .01 pen just because it's not a very heavy line. I don't want it to be too bold. So now all the rings are outlined, and I am ready to do some finishing touches. So I pull out my wood veneers, and I'm going to put a couple of hearts in. One heart, well, it looks like I'm going to put 2, but I'm going to put 1 up there by the title and journaling, and then I'm going to put 1 somewhere else. Then I'm going to put some of the stars around where the rings are. And so, I'm just kind of fiddling with it. I'm going to put a couple stars up there too. So I'm going to ink these wooden pieces, and I'm using cough syrup ink by Jenny Bolin, and then I'm also using lemon drop for the stars. And it takes me a little bit to decide where I'm going to put that heart, but I really like it down there by the tags. And then that one goes up there. And then that little star there almost acts as punctuation for the title. And then the other 2 just, go along with the heart. And now this is my new way of putting wood veneers on layouts, and maybe everybody else has always been doing this, but I'm putting the glue, just some glossy accents on the layout first, and then I'm inking it and putting it back on. And what that does is it kind of holds the spot so I don't forget where it was. I like that. I don't know why I didn't think of that before. So yeah, it just makes it way easier to place it. I found before I would put the star in the right place and then I'd go and ink it and forget where it was. Not that it really matters, but So this is an MFT die, dynamic. And I'm just taking the B side of one of the pieces from the Serendipity collection, and I'm going to run it through my Big Shot to get a tab shape. So there's the tab. It's just out of that bluish green paper, and I'm going to outline it, and use my smash date stamp, and it just says, I chose the one that says Mad Props because I'm kind of proud of Sophie for going into the ballet class. This layout is all about that picture there where Sophie was really shy about going into her first ballet class, and so Livy kind of took her by the hand and took her up to the door and looked in and said, "Look, see, Sophie, everybody's in there. It's okay, go on in." And so I just thought that was such a sweet moment that I ran up and grabbed a picture of it before they moved. And she did go in and had a great time, so we were really proud of her. So I'm putting another tag in there. So basically any place where there's a largish piece of uninterrupted pattern paper, that's a good place to put a layer. So I put that the tab in there, and then I put the little shipping tag in there, and then I decide not to use that vanilla shipping tag. Instead, because there are two blue things to the left of the photo, I want to put something blue to the right just to kind of balance that off. So I took another piece of that same piece of paper, and this is a Tim Holtz die. I think it's called Tag and Tie, and that is a bread tag shape. I'm just going to outline it very gently. And so there you go. And I'm just going to stick it in there because it just adds a little bit. It brings some blue over to the other side, or bluish green, or whatever that color is called. So here's the close-ups. You get to see the journaling and the title and all the little detail. I love how that stamp looks on those letters. And then you get to see those rings. And so each cluster has some rings and some wood veneers around it. So thanks for watching, guys.